Okay, in this recording, sizokhuluma inclination of a line or the angle of inclination. All right. So thanks for tuning in. Check out the description box. Uzothola ama links for other recordings engizobe ngiwayenzile for this topic, analytical geometry. Okay, so what is the inclination of a line? Or what is the angle of inclination? All right. So the angle of inclination, it's the angle of a straight line that the line makes with the positive direction of the x-axis measured counterclockwise. All right. Siyazi ukuthi from trigonometry, more especially the cast rule, the cast diagram, we know that ukuthi an angle is measured. I think so. An angle is measured positive when see rotator counterclockwise, right? So our angles is what measure from the positive axis going counterclockwise, so I measure positive. Any angle that is measured from the axis, the positive x-axis, see measure clockwise is over negative. So I'm just trying to address the issue or the statement city, the positive direction of the x-axis measured counterclockwise, right? So the angle of inclination, it's the angle as you measure or that the straight line makes with the positive direction of the x-axis, meaning that sithatha an angle si measure counterclockwise. All right. So in simpler terms, ngayibeka ngithi it's how tilted a line is compared to a flat horizontal line, in brackets, quote unquote, x-axis, right? So this is important. This is very important, very important. There's another video, okay, there's another video I'm gonna create for that speaks about our angles like analytical geometry, right? Because the angle of inclination is not the only angle as you calculate. It's not the only angle as you calculate. There will be other angles like somewhere on the sketch, right? So now my angles, my angle of inclination. But we'll talk about them. If I create that video, I will. But if you create here, surely uzoyithola somewhere in the description box of this video. Check it out. Check it out. Please remind me. Please remind me. But I have to do this one. Okay, so let's talk about. Let's just take an example. Let's take an example. But before we take an example, let me show you different cases of lines, right? So let's say we have this first line, line AB, for example. So the line AB, the angle theta over there, this angle, the arrow et, I'm measuring the angle counterclockwise, right? Anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. So that angle theta, it's what we refer to as the angle of inclination. Let me show you something that is not the angle of inclination. This is not the angle of inclination. It's not the angle of inclination. Logo, nope. Okay? So the angle of inclination is always measured from the positive axis counterclockwise. Here's another case. This is an angle of inclination, right? So okay. You may be wondering why manje you are starting to measure angle yako from the origin. If noma ngabe ngimeasure from la, yenze so. It's the same. It's sending the same or a similar message. I'm measuring a angle of inclination. It's always measured from positive axis counterclockwise to where the line is, ne? To where the line is. So ubonile ngokukhombe ama cases angaki ay2, right? 2. So this is the first one. Here's the second one. Let's talk about this one. This one, since it's a vertical line, right? this line, this vertical line, also has an angle of inclination. So the 90 degree, for a vertical line, it's obviously gonna be a 90 degrees. Ngoba the vertical line, usually on iba perpendicular to what? The x-axis, or whichever. Yes, it's gonna be perpendicular to the x-axis, whether the positive axis or the negative axis. Okay, it's always gonna be perpendicular if, when provided that the line is what is a vertical line. And then for lastly, sine a horizontal line, angle of inclination yakhona izoba ubani 0 degrees. Why is that? It's because of a parallel to the x-axis. All right, so before we even do our calculations, I want to show you the formula for finding, the formula for calculating the angle of inclination. So this is the formula for finding the angle of inclination. Angle of inclination, it's what? It's taken as theta equal to arctan of the gradient of that line, right? So in order to calculate the angle of inclination, you need the gradient for that line, right? So angle of inclination and the gradient, same WhatsApp group, ne? Same WhatsApp group. So let me hide this. And then, let's take this one, right? Let's take this one. Let's calculate the gradient first. So the gradient for this one is going to be gradient AB equal to YA minus YB over XA minus XB. So this is YA, that's negative 3, minus YB, that's 3, over XA, that's negative 7, minus XB, that's 6. So it's minus 6 lapha phezulu, minus 13 as our denominator. So dividing, we get a 6 over 13. So this is our gradient. Now let's calculate the angle of inclination for this line. So theta is equal to arctan of that gradient. So we are dealing with two gradient bunny, line AB. So angle of inclination, check. Look at the angle of inclination. You can see that with no. This angle of inclination is actually what? An acute angle, right? So the answer is ophuma lapha. It should be between bani. It should be an angle that is less than 90 degrees. Right? So arctan, so the gradient to bani 6 over 13. And okay, syntax shayu minus lapha by mistake. So now 24,76. I'm writing it in 2 decimal place. 78. What am I doing? 78 degrees. Double check. Yeah. Okay, so this is our angle of inclination for this blue line. Let's talk about this line. Now, Lana, you have to be careful. Before we discuss, let's go back here. Do you see that this line AB, the gradient for this line was a positive gradient? So the gradient for this line was positive, right? So iline lakhona lihleli kanje, when it's tilted like this, I gradient yakhona should always have a positive gradient, right? So coming back to this problem, let's say take you can see that now line lami laga AB, it's now tilted differently from the other one. So from the previous video I created where I was discussing a gradient, I said if your line is tilted like this, a gradient yako is gonna be a negative. So m is gonna be less than what? 0, right? So the angle of inclination we calculate a little bit different nangabe a line lakho tilted like this. Okay, so Let's calculate gradient first. So gradient AB is equal to YA minus YB over XA minus XB. So YA, that's 4 minus YB, that's negative 7 over XA, that's negative 5 minus XB, that's 5. So 4 minus negative 7, that's going to be a 11 over negative 10. Let's double check. So it's 4 minus negative 7. Then no minus 5, negative 5. Then yes, the answer it's negative 11 over 10. So ungamangani ubona calculator ibhala answer like this, and this kuyafana, ne? So how do we calculate the angle of inclination lana? Sizothi theta is equal to 180 degrees minus arctan of the gradient. Now, why? Bheki angle yakho lapha. Check out the angle of inclination for this line. Do you see that with the angle yakho, it's actually bigger than 90 degrees? It's an obtuse angle, right? It's an obtuse angle. So you have to subtract from 180 degrees. Always, whenever ufuni angle of inclination for a line that is tilted like this, and you produce a negative gradient, we calculate as so. Minus 180, let's get arctan of that gradient. So it's going to be arctan. You don't put the negative sign. We substitute the gradient positive. Yes, the answer is negative, but when you substitute, I will substitute the negative one, the negative value. So this is equal to 47.73. So theta is equal to 180 minus 47.73 equal to. So this is the answer, 132.27 degrees. So this is our answer. Okay. So for these types of lines where iba perpendicular, they will never ask you to calculate such a gradient, ne? Such an angle of inclination. It's obvious. So lena ngukhomba yona so that we practice uziprovele yona, okay? Uziprovele yona. But you know what? Let me show you something about this one. So the gradient, there's nothing interesting. Okay, there's something interesting. And then XA, XB. What is YA? 7, yeah? Yeah, YA 7 minus YB negative 4. XA ubani 3, XB ubani 3. This is where the danger is, Giamanje. On the numerator, I'm obviously gonna get a positive 11 over 3 minus 3, that's 0. Hey. Nayibon yenzani? Bheka. Hey, mhlolo phela lo. It is math error. Yeah, what? It is math error. So math error la, right? It's a math error. So angithi, you know that the angle of inclination is a calculator like this. Gradient. But then if your gradient it's a math error, right? It's a math error. So if I'm a graphs work, I'm a trigonometric graphs work, we are wazi, right? Your sine graph, your tan graph, your cosine graph, we are wazi. Like this graph, hopefully yeah, this graph here, right? This graph. So bega, these yellow lines siwabizani konje ama asymptotes, angithi? These are our asymptotes. ama-asymptotes wethu la. So our asymptotes, it's where i-graph yethu iba undefined. This is a tan graph, right? A tangent graph. So the yellow lines asikhombisa ini ama-asymptotes. Hence, i-gradient yethu la, the angle of inclination ngithi kuwe, it's gonna be 90 degrees because i-gradient yethu comes out as okay, iphuma as a math error or an infinity or as infinite. So therefore, taking arctan of an infinity, it gives us the asymptote, right? So yeah. I was just trying to prove ukuthi lo 90 degrees uvela kanjani nasi sebenzisa the formula for finding the angle of inclination. Okay, so but don't expect to find something efana nale. Alright, so horizontal line, I'm also not gonna do this. This was just outside the scope of our discussion. So just for lababa curious ababukela ama video. Yeah, okay, so anyway, I'm ending the video here. Nangabuna my questions, you wanna add something, I made a mistake, let's talk in the comment section. So we fix our fast. So yeah, I hope you enjoy ile, ungakhohlwa ukulike, ukushare, nokusubscribe. So for now guys, so on the next one. Sharp.